Hey people, it is Friday, February 10th. The time right now is 3:09 p.m. and the temperature is about 3 degrees Celsius. And there goes a northbound train rolling into Eglinton Station. So obviously that was a southbound train at the start of the video. I'm standing here just to the north of Davisville Station, which is just off in this direction. And there's a look south towards downtown as that southbound train rolls out of Davisville. And for this one, I'm going to be hopping into the newly permanent Yonge Street bike lanes and riding south into downtown. And I have to make my way over to Homewood Avenue, which is just off of Wellesley Street, as I have an item that I need to pick up from someone I just agreed to purchase. So I thought I'd kill two birds with one stone, and I am still rocking a cold, unfortunately. That's why I've got the balaclava on. And to make this journey, I'll be taking the e-scooter, and that is something that unfortunately is still technically not allowed on public roads in the city of Toronto. So the city council did something progressive yesterday, or rather 2 days ago, and voted in the Yonge Street bike lanes as permanent. But for whatever reason, they're still against e-scooters, but hopefully that'll change in the near future. But all right, let's get moving here. And it has just started to snow lightly. I don't think it'll be much of an issue though. So I believe this is Imperial Street. And just on the right there is a TD Canada Trust, and I just popped into there to take some cash out for this purchase. And this is in Midtown, not too far from where I live. And the Yonge Street bike lanes just start south of this intersection coming up here at Yonge and Davisville. Well, Chaplin Crescent on the right. And the bike lanes run for about 3.2 kilometers between here and Yonge and Bloor. That would be Davisville Station just on the right. I did a ride similar to this maybe a week and a half or so ago on the e-bike. So I apologize if it feels like duplicate content. I just wanted to get out and get on these bike lanes to, I guess, sort of celebrate. I don't know if that's the right word, them being made permanent. The city council vote, I believe, was 22 in favor and 4 against. And these were installed back in the summer of 2001 as part of a Complete Street pilot project. It also saw a number of patios and restaurants spilling out onto the sidewalk and the street. And for the most part, you could consider them to be protected bike lanes. I think there will still be some redesign as they implement the new permanent bike lanes. This part of Yonge Street used to be 2 lanes in either direction, and now it's just one. but there is space for parking. And I think the city is looking at ways of increasing parking spaces, even with the bike lanes, as well as delivery truck loading spaces. And a lot of the sidewalk patios that are part of Cafe TO looked kind of temporary in nature, and I think we'll see an improvement in how those look and interact with the environment. So this is Yonge and St. Clair coming up. That is Heath Street. St. Clair is just a few blocks south of here. And this is Yonge and Delisle. And I believe the city will be installing an LED light here. That'll indicate no left turns are to be made when shuttle buses are running. They're building a new condo on the right. Look at this car parked in the bike lane, and clearly that police officer just drove by. The snow is starting to feel like little pellets bouncing off of me. And I recently did a walking video through this area around Moore Park and Summer Hill. And there's some signs on some of these businesses saying "Be rational, TO," no bike lanes, as well as in front of some homes, at least on Marlborough Avenue, where I walked across. So there was some good old-fashioned NIMBYism at play. And disappointingly, the mayor of Toronto was trying to convince City Council to prolong the temporary state of the bike lanes and revisit voting for them to be permanent in November. And given that the bike lanes run along a number of rather affluent neighborhoods, Rosedale, Summer Hill, Moore Park, and Deer Park, and there's a lot of donor money in this area, I think he was paying lip service to them. And it's worth noting he was also opposed to the bike lanes that had been improved and should be going in on Yonge Street in Willowdale, north of Shepherd up to Finch. And I think those will go in around 2026 or 2027. And he was opposed to that plan, wanting the bike lanes to run on parallel streets rather than the major artery. And Yonge Street does extend from the lake all the way up to Steeles Avenue, so only having 3.2 kilometers of bike lanes is something, but there's still a lot of improvement to go. We will see them installed for a small slice of downtown, I think south of College, in the not too distant future. Certainly, having been in Montreal last week, a city often referred to as the cycling capital of North America, our biking network and infrastructure pales in comparison, especially after a snowfall. Their sidewalks were absolutely atrocious, but their bike lanes were in pretty good shape. Here it's often the opposite. The roads and the sidewalks will be clear, and the bike lanes will be a sorry afterthought. I think it's been noted since these bike lanes were installed, there's roughly a 50 to 150% increase in pedestrian traffic along this corridor, and a 50 to 250% increase in bicycle traffic. So they've certainly been a success. Much like the Danforth and Bloor bike lanes, which were made permanent last year. All it took was a pandemic to get the city a bit more serious about its cycling infrastructure. It's also worth noting the average vehicle trip time along this stretch of Yonge Street has only increased by about a minute. So there's really no argument to be had there. There's also been no observed increase along Avenue Road and Mount Pleasant Road, which could be alternate routes for motorists if they're not happy with this arrangement. There seems to be a lot of flashing lights up ahead. And this is Marlborough Avenue. I think I saw about 4 or 5 of those NIMBY signs. One of their big arguments was that EMS times would be increased, as this is a street with no exit. But nobody from emergency services has gone on record saying the bike lanes are a problem or that response times are any longer than usual. In fact, I think this stretch of Yonge Street is one of the quickest served by emergency services in the city. I just tried to twist my handle grip. My muscle memory forgot that I was on the e-scooter and not on the bike. So some of these restaurants here build out onto the street as part of Cafe Tio. It looks like Yonge Street might be blocked up ahead. So this stretch of bike lane spans Davisville Station, then St. Clair Station, Summer Hill Station, which I've already gone by, and Rosedale Station here on the left. And then they end right at Bloor Yonge Station, at Yonge and Bloor. Although it is really quite silly that they don't extend all the way down to the lake. I'm supposed to message this guy when I'm about 10 minutes out. So I'll pull aside and do that in a few blocks. Well, it looks like this is clearing up, whatever it was. if you're wondering about the e-scooter, the province of Ontario ran a pilot project that different cities could sign up to take part in, and the city of Ottawa has, and a few other major centers. But the city of Toronto opted out of it. So technically, these e-scooters are forbidden from being ridden on public property. But it's not anything that's enforced, and I've never heard of anyone getting a ticket from it. In fact, there's so little enforcement going on these streets, I'd be absolutely surprised if it happened. A little wave to those drivers, but no wave to who's ever driving that van. And this is where the bike lanes end, about half a block south of here. But fortunately, they intersect with the Bloor Street bike lanes. So we've got a light here. Maybe I can send that message. Make sure there's no one behind me in case I'm holding them up. About I said I was about 10 to 12 minutes out. I don't know if that's true or not. And one of the big advantages of an e-scooter is you can just get off and walk when it's time to be a pedestrian. And you can see what happens to Yonge Street when the bike lanes disappear. Riding here becomes a very different story. It's really kind of tragic that the bike lanes are only in Midtown. This is Charles Street. So I'll be making a left at Wellesley and heading over to Homewood Avenue for a rare Facebook Marketplace purchase. There's so many cars that pull over illegally here. You can see there's a no parking sign to pick up delivery food. I think bike lanes would wreak havoc with that, but tough noogies, I would say. And the safety of the bike couriers delivering food would certainly be vastly improved. Although even though those bike lanes have been installed, there's still been some accidents involving cyclists on that stretch, including a deadly one. And why is this car turning left or turning right from the left lane? It's almost as if people in the city don't know how to drive. And here comes Wellesley, rocking a no left turn sign. And one of my complaints with the signage in the city is these signs are impossible to read unless you are right up at the intersection. That says no left turn 7:30 to 9 and 3:30 to 6:30. And it is 3:33. So I will once again turn into a pedestrian. So this is east on Wellesley Street East. Cyclist is being forced to merge into traffic thanks to this illegally parked car. We're in the heart of the village, and this car is not supposed to be merging into the bike lane like that. Well, it is a hash line. Maybe I've got that wrong. In hindsight, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. So according to that sign, we are half a kilometer away from Sherburne Street, where we will find more bike lanes, although Homewood Avenue will appear before Sherburne. This is Jarvis Street. Here is Homewood. All right, I believe I have arrived at the spot. Well, I guess this video was on the shorter side, but that's okay. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know your thoughts and comments down below, and your thoughts on the now permanent Yonge Street bike lanes. And if you wish to support the channel, there's links to my Patreon and YouTube channel membership in the description. I have an Instagram account at Johnny Strides, a TikTok account at Johnny Strides, and there is a super thanks button appearing below these videos. Anyways, I'm gonna pick up my new item here, maybe after this video, or after I wrap this up. I'll give a little preview of what I bought. So stay tuned for that. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Yoink. And we're back. And that took a little bit of time, but in my backpack, I have my new RTX 3060. I just needed to get a new GPU for one of my systems, and since I use a program that likes VRAM, I got one with 12 gigs of VRAM. And it is by a Japanese brand, which is kind of interesting. Anyways, he was a super nice guy, gave me a very reasonable price. And now I will be on my way home. So once again, thanks for watching, and I will catch you in the next one. Yoink.